What's up, everybody? You're watching Model Aviator. I'm Adam, and we have got the E-Flite F-14 in front of us once again. Now, we've already done a review on this airplane, and in our first review, we didn't really open things up with this airplane the way that we probably should have. We were using a buddy's airplane, and I was a bit concerned about putting undue risk on an airplane that didn't belong to me. Jason Merkel recognized that from Horizon Hobby and offered to send us our very own F-14, so he did. Now, on this channel, I speak of humility quite often, and I try to be a humble guy. A lot of the misconceptions out there are from people that really don't understand how good this airplane can be, don't really understand its full flight envelope. We didn't, but that's because we really didn't try, so we are partly responsible for some of those misconceptions, and this episode is about setting that straight. So we're going to start with showing you our center launch grip modification that we did to the airplane in pretty good detail so you understand what we did, how we did it, and why we did it the way we did it. And then we're going to talk about the flight performance, how to get the most out of this airplane, and we're going to show you what this thing will absolutely do in this configuration, fully swept. A lot of people think this airplane's not very capable. We did. We were wrong, and we're going to show you. Our center grip mod is something that I think can make hand launching this airplane easy for people with small hands or low confidence. Either one, it really makes it super easy. This is the rudimentary thing that we came up with the first time, and we've modified that since. We're going to show you a close-up of our center grip mod and kind of explain that to you here in just a second. But as you can see, it's painted the color of the airplane. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. The idea behind it is because it's in the center, you can get all your fingers on one side, your thumb on the other, and your index finger on the back. And that makes hand launching this airplane much easier, gives you a much more secure grip. I like it being in the center rather than being offset for that reason, and there is a provision that we implemented to keep airflow going in that neck and duct even though the grip is a bit in the way. We'll show you that. It is worth noting on this grip that all the materials and the 30-minute epoxy that we used to attach it weigh 9 grams. That's less than half the difference in weight in these two 2200 4-cell packs. There's 21 grams of difference between these two. We got 9 grams in this grip mod basically, and the airplane doesn't know it's there, performs spectacularly. It's engineered to withstand hundreds of hand launches, plus having grass grab at it when you land. However you decide to do this, whether you 3D print something or you use wood the way we did, you just want to account for the fact that this is going to need to hold up under a bunch of launches and a bunch of landings. Okay, you can see our original center grip hand launch design right here, and the main change that we made from this and our final grip is the size of the floor plate and the surface area that it covers. That is primarily to disperse stress, the stress of the lateral G's of hundreds of hand launches over a larger area. And it's worth noting that this part of the foam, that is actually the battery bay, so this is fairly thin. So getting some of this stress back further on a thicker part of the foam is a good thing to do. Obviously, we sanded that area and cleaned it with alcohol so that we get good adhesion. We used 30-minute epoxy to make sure it was as strong as it possibly could be. Basically, our floor plate is 16th inch light ply. Our two side reinforcers of the main center grip are also 16th inch light ply, and the grip itself is 8th inch light ply. It is contoured and shaped the same shape as our intakes and the fuselage here, and of course it is lower, or in this case higher, than the intakes so that it doesn't grab anything when you land. And this is a 1/4 inch piece of triangle stock that we sanded down and shaped to match the back of the hand grip. That is just to ensure that airflow coming here hits this and continues to go into the neck duct. The advantage of the light ply is simply everybody either has it or can get it for just a few dollars. Not everybody has access to a 3D printer. Nothing wrong with 3D printing one if you want to. I don't think the airplane will know the difference in the weight from one over the other. Our performance is certainly not affected adversely by having this grip on there. In fact, being able to take the gear off, it's actually enhanced quite a bit, and this works really, really well. There you go. Pretty simple. Took us about an hour to do that, and Heidi another 10 minutes to paint it, so it's not difficult to do with wood if you choose to do it that way. Very, very strong. When you use the light ply, it's going to last a long time, and very inexpensive to do if you don't have a 3D printer. As far as technique is concerned, basically like John Daly used to say, grip it and rip it. You get a hold of it just like this, index finger on the back, wings fully extended, full throttle, put it in safe, one step forward, let her rip, follow through. Works every time. Okay, so there you go. Now we've got our center grip on. It's important to note that I honestly believe I can launch this airplane normally. The day that we were out there flying this airplane, the 2 days, it was 34 degrees one day or something like that, and I think 40 something the next day, maybe 41 or 2. I'm a southern boy. When my hands are cold, I just was not confident in my grip. My hands felt like they were going to slip off the airplane before I could actually throw it, so I didn't do it conventionally, but I think once the weather warms up and I can get a grip on it, I think I can. But the center grip mod is just for that. If you're not confident, if you have smaller hands, that's what it's for. It makes it super, super easy. The hand launches went really well. There are a couple of things that you should know. Now, this has been covered, but just in case you missed it. When you put this airplane in safe, which is exactly how you want to launch it, you want to launch it in safe, the accelerometers sense the launch. They sense that quick onset of lateral G, and they put themselves into, essentially, it puts the ailerons into launch mode. So as soon as the airplane leaves your hands, it will actually put it in a shallow climb without you doing anything. The best way to launch this airplane is to launch it in safe mode, flip it out of that once it gets good and on step. Now we're going to show you a couple of examples, what to do and what not to do. What you want to do when you launch this airplane, no matter what happens out of your hands, don't be afraid of that. Let safe handle the launch. You're going to see what not to do in this first little hand launch we're going to show you. What I did was I started pulling back on the elevator trying to help the safe, and you'll see the wings kind of wag. It's having a hard time coping with what it's trying to do and my interference. Don't do that. Let safe handle the launch and let it get on step, flip it out of safe, and then start maneuvering the airplane. So this is what happens when you interfere with safe during a launch. And now here is a compilation of a bunch of other launches. The first one you're going to see here, same issue. Airplane dips a wing out of my hands, but this time I don't touch it. Watch safe do its job, correct it, and begin to climb the airplane out. Listen audibly. You can hear me flip the switch out of safe in all these launches. You can hear it in that one we just showed you. So you can tell the difference in it being in safe and me flipping it out of it. Just don't touch it, and it'll work great. When it gets on step, flip it out of it and do your thing. Okay, that covers hand launching it. I have to say, when you take a look at the airplane in this configuration, it just looks like a fighter with the gear retracted. I mean, we've all got EDFs, a lot of them are fighter jets. I mean, how many of us fly the thing with the gear extended most of the flight? None of us. It just looks the part like this. and the presentation in the air is completely different. And taking the gear off and getting rid of that drag and that little bit of weight makes a huge difference in the speed and some of the things this airplane's capable of. So first and foremost, setup is really important, and our setup with ours was different than Scott's. With Scott's airplane, we knew he was going to have to put it in his transmitter and do everything over again, so we didn't really mess with anything. With this one, we did it right. We did exactly what Jason suggests in the forums. He's said it multiple times. Judging from some of the performance I'm seeing people get, similar to the performance that we kind of got when we weren't pushing it very hard with Scott's airplane, it makes a huge difference to mechanically adjust the trim on your ailerons. And the process for doing that's been said before, but we're going to go over it again. When you get your airplane, you're going to want to take it off from a runway with the gear on it. Get it trimmed in all 3 flight modes, all 3 wing positions. Once you do that, you're going to want to put the wings in the fully extended position, and then you can either just visually make note, or you can do what I did. I took a picture with my phone from behind the airplane to get a good idea of what position those ailerons were in. Then you want to take all of the trim out of your transmitter, pop your hatch off. You want to pop these ball links off right here and turn them in or out. Mechanically adjust those ailerons so they're in the position at center that they were when you had them trimmed. Now you've essentially got them centered, but there's no trim in your transmitter, and what that is going to do is net you better performance. The way it will do that is very simply, if you just leave the trim in and you don't mechanically adjust them, especially if it takes a good bit of trim, which for some people it does, it's going to roll pretty quick in the direction of the trim, but when you roll against the trim, you will have lost deflection, and it's not going to roll as fast that way. And because they're ailerons, it could affect how the airplane turns when you just pull elevator. So the airplane is infinitely more maneuverable in every wing position when you do that, so be sure that you do. It's worth noting that once you make those mechanical adjustments, once you take your gear off and hand launch the airplane, you are going to have to retrim it in each flight mode, each wing position, but it's going to be a very, very small amount of trim, mostly elevator. It's pretty insignificant. There's no reason to redo the mechanical adjustments after that, unless you just want to be really anal about it and you only intend to fly the airplane with the gear off. I suppose you could do that, but it's a very little bit of trim. We just left that in, and our airplane flies great, wheels on or off. When it comes to the rest of the setup, pretty basic. All the controls, elevator and aileron and the transmitter are at 100% deflection, and we used -2% expo on both elevator and aileron. That made the airplane respond very good for us. It was responsive around center stick, but not overly so, and when you really put it to the extremes, it gave you extreme performance. So that's really the only change in our setup versus the setup with Scott's. So when it comes to the flight performance, you're going to notice, taking a look at this flight footage, that this airplane will roll very quickly in every wing position when you have it set up right. It will turn very tight in every wing position, included fully swept, when you set it up right and when you manage energy. It's about energy management, being tactical. This airplane will fly a lot slower with the wings swept than a lot of people think it will. You'll notice that. You'll also notice that when I fly this airplane, a lot of times I'll try to sweep the wings up high. I'll gain my altitude when it's easier with the wings fully extended. Then I'll sweep the wings and I'll dive in to start my maneuvering. Then I'll do my maneuver, all the while making sure that some part of that maneuver is a bit vertical. That gives me a bit of altitude to work with, so I can come back down south again and get it pointed south, gain a little bit more speed for the next maneuver, and I've got plenty of speed to keep doing those things. And that just makes the airplane much more fun and much more capable with the wings swept when you're tactical about how you fly it. But you don't have to be as tactical as we first thought. This thing is not a helpless little kitten with the wing swept. It's still a Tomcat. You just got to fly it right. And when you do, the airplane will do this. In this first section of flight footage, we're just displaying how the airplane presents with the gear off and what it can do with the wings in the fully extended position. Speed-wise, all aspects of performance are better with the gear off. You do get more speed, it's easier to manage throttle and get a little longer flight time, and you get way better vertical. With the airframe cleaner, you're able to carry more speed with less throttle, and I'm able to engage full throttle at the beginning of a lot of vertical maneuvers without needing such a big run-in. When you're belly landing the F-14 or really any airplane, the idea is to hold her off in ground effect as long as you can before you let her touch. Here's some footage of the mid-swept position. I think this is an underrated position. A lot of people don't fly the F-14 in this position. I'm liking it here. You get more lift than in the fully swept position, but more speed than the fully extended position. It's kind of the best of both worlds. And now we're moving into the fully swept position. With the gear off, this thing absolutely hauls the mail here. As you can see here, the Tomcat has no problem turning tight or slowing down in this position. It's nice to be able to manage the throttle a little bit more in this position. It's not necessary to be in it deep all the time like we first thought. I have to admit, the sound this airplane makes going by when it's really hauling is something else. We're going to dive in here and do a couple of rolls. Check out the roll rate. Much faster when it's set up right. And after this landing, we're going to take it to a tight venue. This will be a mixture of wing positions at a small venue. check out this pushover. This is not my best landing, but I was running out of real estate, so I just set it down. All right, there you go. Listen, if you can get a good grip on this airplane and you are confident that it won't slip out of your hands during a throwing motion, don't be afraid to hand launch this airplane. If you use the technique that we showed, regardless of what your grip is, and you'll get out of safe's way and let it do its job, you will have success hand launching this airplane. If you're not confident in that, that's what the grip mod is for. That will open it up to you as well if you're not confident. We've gone over a lot on the setup and how critical that is to get the most out of this airplane. And hopefully we have dispelled some of the myths about this airplane's performance and showed you what it really can do in all of the different wing positions. It is much more capable than I think a lot of you think that it is. It's certainly more capable than I thought that it was. So don't be afraid to open it up. Hopefully this will maximize your enjoyment of your F-14 if you have one. And if you don't and you've been on the fence, hopefully this will get you to pull the trigger, because this airplane will do a lot more than you're reading and seeing that it will. And if you decide that you want one, we are now, thanks to Jason, a Horizon Hobby affiliate, which means we get a little bit of a commission on any sale. If you use our link in the description, it will take you to Horizon Hobby's website. From there, you navigate as normal. You can sign into your account. If you have points accumulated, you can use those to get the best deal on the airplane or anything else that you buy. Once you go through our link, that gives us a little bit of commission and helps us fund our channel to do things like this for you and keep this content coming. So if you do that, we really appreciate it. Happy New Year. Hope it was great. Hope it was safe. Enjoy flying in 2023, and we will see you next week with something cool with wings as always. Take care.